Welcome to the Behind the Girl Boss podcast, where every woman's journey takes center stage. Join us in this safe space as we explore the ins and outs of business, career, mental health, the music industry, and more. Whether you're a go-getter or a dream chaser, we've got stories for you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for an exclusive backstage pass. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and entertained. Welcome to the ride. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. Hello, hi, how are you doing? Okay, let's just get right into it. I was at a music festival all weekend. I went to Osheaga in Montreal and it was such a great time. I went to the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is the first time I've ever done that for the festival. It was definitely interesting. My whole body is so sore right now. But it was such a great time. So on Friday, I saw the Japanese House, Mimi Webb. I also saw Two Door Cinema Club, and then I saw Melanie Martinez and Noah Kahan. So iconic. And then on Saturday, I was very close for Chapel Roan and Renee Rapp. It was a great time. I was so tired though. And then after them, I got food and then I went to go see Labyrinth and then I needed to go home because I was just exhausted from standing in the same spot for like 8 hours. And then on Sunday, I saw Ray, I saw Steven Sanchez, I saw Tyla, I also saw Hosier, and then the Queen SZA. It was such a great weekend. It was iconic. If you know me, you know I love like live music, and you know I love concerts and all those things. So it was just such a great time, and I really, 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 really enjoyed myself. So yeah, that's basically like what I've been doing all weekend. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go follow me at It's Manawan. Go look at the outfits. I tried to give like gay vibes all weekend, honestly. That's like the vibe I was going for with my outfits. So go check them out on Instagram. But yeah, I'm really excited for this episode. It's funny because it does have to do with music, and I just went to music festival, so it's very fitting. But today's mantra, before we get into that, is I release fear and invite positivity and confidence into my life. Once you listen to this episode, you're going to know why this is the mantra of the week, but it's just such a good mantra. It's something that we should all listen to and take part in, and just remember that confidence does so much for us. And at the end of the day, no matter who judges us, no matter who talks about us or thinks anything of us, the most important thing is how we view ourselves and how we love ourselves and how we believe in ourselves. So I release fear and invite positivity and confidence into my life. We love that. But today on the podcast, we actually have EVELYNROZE. EVELYNROZE is a singer-songwriter. She's also an advocate for disability and bullying. And we had such a great, insightful conversation. And I feel like I saw so much of myself in her and related to her so much. We spoke about what it was like being bullied in high school. We spoke about what it's like living through bullying and how it can affect us, not only during the time, but also long term, and kind of how it develops trauma in you. We spoke about how singing and songwriting kind of paved the way to her healing. And we spoke about what it's like being a singer songwriter. We spoke about what it was like being a singer songwriter while she was in school getting bullied. We spoke about how she used music to kind of release her emotions and heal herself. And we also spoke what it's like to be a singer-songwriter, her journey with music, what she has next, and all those things. It was such a great conversation and I really, really enjoyed it. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. So we have another guest with us. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Hi, so my name is EVELYNROZE. I'm a 21-year-old awarded singer, songwriter, and actress from Central Massachusetts. I've been performing since I was 4 years old, and I'm also an influencer and advocate for mental health, disabilities, and anti-bullying, being that these are things that have personally impacted me, and I no longer want to see people have to face it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that you're so young and also just advocating for all this because I feel like nowadays no one talks about it enough. And if they do, it's kind of like a conversation for like 10 minutes and then kind of gets brushed under the rug. So I'm excited to dive into that with you. But before I do that, I like to do a little hot seat segment to kind of just break the ice and know little fun facts. So if you could pick up and move anywhere right now, where would it be?
Probably like Arizona, like out in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hot there though. I don't know if I'd be able to like be outside for long.
My aunt lives out there, and she has an issue where her pool gets hot because of the heat there, so it's hard to like maintain a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
I love the desert. I love the imagery of the desert.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very different vibe from where you live right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one is do you have a life mantra or motto that you live by?
One is whatever is meant to be will be. That's like my favorite saying that's gotten
Mm-hmm.
me through a lot. And then there's like my slogan slash tagline that my mom used to tell me growing up. No one has the right to define your worth or dictate your fate. Nothing you face defines your worth or dictates your fate.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's very true. And I think a lot of more people need to hear that. And then the last one is who's a celebrity or creator that always keeps you inspired?
So like my biggest inspiration is probably like Carrie Underwood and like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. But as for content creators, I love Spencer Barbosa.
Mm-hmm.
Everything she does, everything she talks about, how she really doesn't back down no matter what people are saying about her, or trying to like twist what she's doing. Like a lot of content creators, when they're doing like awareness content, people will try to twist up what they're doing and make them like look bad.
Yeah,
And that's something that's also happened to me. So like that's inspiring to kind of watch her just walk through that with no problem.
100%. And being a content creator, I feel like you share a lot of your life online, as do I, and like a lot of other people. What's something that you do for fun that many people may not know that you do?
Really enjoy like being outside, being with my family a lot of the time with my dogs. I love to garden. I love baking and stuff like that. I also love like skincare and like makeup, but I do that a lot online too, so people know that. I've always liked to like collect like vintage fashion and stuff. It's been one of my
It's so
favorite
fun.
things. Just
No, I love
exploring the history of fashion and the history of music and how it kind of all bounced off each other is like really
that.
interesting.
I love that. And growing up, did you always see yourself being in this field and being like a creator and also pursuing music, or did you have like a different path in mind?
So I always wanted to do music, like from a young age. There's just always been music. I've
Hmm.
always just been surrounded by music. Although in my immediate family, there's no musicians. My parents are both huge into music, so I grew up listening to whatever they were playing on the radio. Growing up, I always thought about like me being a scientist, or I even thought about going to the military at one point. The passion for music just never like ended. It was always just there. It was always like I just want to do that.
Yeah. And can you tell us about your early experiences with music when you first started singing and being like, I'm actually good at this. I can pursue this as a career. And when did you write your first ever song?
When I was little, I would always be like singing and dancing around the house. Like I said, when my parents were playing music, I'd be singing along with it. And whenever we had like family holidays or gatherings, I'd be singing and dancing in front of everybody. And my mom was like, okay, I'm going to put you in dance lessons. So she signed me up for dance lessons. And we learned very quickly that I had a lot of trouble like processing and like following the choreography. So the owner of the studio was like, dance may not be her strength, but I think she'd do really well in my acting program. We own an acting production company, like a theater company. And she was like, she's too young to get into it, but I kind of see something about her. I want to let her in early. So theater was really how I discovered my love for performing and for being on the stage, and it kind of just came really naturally to me.
And you have shared that you were bullied in school, and I
Hmm.
can relate to that a lot. I not that I feel, I know I was bullied in school, especially because I was one of those kids that before YouTube was popular, like I was posting on YouTube and people would find it and like make fun of me and mock me at school. So as someone else who was also dealt with bullying in school, how did you find the strength to continue your passions alongside all that?
At first, it was definitely really tough. Bullying sucks. It's very consuming, it's very overwhelming, it's very suffocating, especially when there's so many negative stigmas, not only around bullying, but around people who get bullied as well. I would go online and I'd see people from my school like leaving rude comments on like my singing videos. I'd see people gathering at lunch to like make fun of me whenever I sang at like school events. They'd be laughing at me, laughing at my singing covers. Like in middle school, someone even threw my songbook into like a toilet. I never told my parents that I was being bullied in high school, not because I didn't think they would support me or believe me. I just kind of suppressed it. And I was like, I can handle this.
Hmm.
Couldn't. It really ended up impacting my mental health. It took a teacher my junior year having to call my mom and tell her, hey, this is how bad it is. And my mom immediately worked on getting me help. And that's when she kind of had told me that saying, these kids don't define your worth. They're just miserable with themselves. And they give themselves a power trip and they make themselves feel better. They suppress their own insecurities by trying to mess with how you feel about yourself.
Hmm.
So
100%.
that was kind of how I just kept going. I mean, there were times also where I literally like deactivated my social media accounts and deleted my singing covers. I always just kind of knew that I needed to keep going despite these kids.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've dealt with this now, but like for me, the people that would make fun of me in high school and stuff also like recently reach out and they're like, "Oh, like I love what you're doing," and like blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Okay, I get it. You were young and whatever, and you matured, but I feel like they don't realize what they did kind of sticks. Like even though like it's been like almost 10 years for me, it still impacted me and like yes, it did help me grow thicker skin and like really find myself and just whatever,
Yeah.
but it's still traumatic and it still like is with me to this day."
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten those messages. I will never forget this girl who used to like corner me and just berate me. She's awful to me. The day I see her comment, "Oh my God, you're such an amazing singer," on one of my TikToks, I was just like, thanks,
Yeah. Like what do you
maybe.
it's so hard
I don't know
because
what to
like
say back because it's like
yeah.
these people will put themselves out there like they've changed. Like I know for a fact some of my bullies did change, but some of them didn't.
Mhm.
And they want to act like they did. And they do things to compensate for the fact that they were bullies and now they try to like cover up the fact that they were. So I've also gotten like a DM, some girl was like, "You're so like inspiring." I'm like, "Didn't you bully the crap out of me?" And now all of a sudden I'm so inspiring to you. And it's almost like they expect you to like credit them.
Yeah.
My mind can't even process how someone could even think like that. It's like, what are you doing with your life at that point, you know?
Yeah, and especially with like the rise of social media now, I feel like there's so much more like cyberbullying and stuff like that. And it's so easy for people to just sit behind a computer and like, especially on TikTok, just write whatever they want and like not care because people don't take cyberbullying seriously because they're like, oh, like it's just online. It doesn't actually impact you. But I feel like it impacts you
Yeah.
more. I don't deal with it that much anymore. But like when I was younger and I was reading like all these hate comments that I would get, it's like you read it in your own voice in your head.
Yeah,
So it
right.
feels like you're the one telling it to
Insulting.
yourself. I feel like there just needs to be so much more done for cyberbullying, especially nowadays, because it's happening to people that like there's people on TikTok that are like 10 years old getting these comments. It's so damaging to like people's mental health.
Yeah. These phones have
Yeah.
made bullying so much worse, not only in the aspect of cyberbullying. I remember there were times where I'm trying to stand up for myself, and these kids are like, filming and laughing at me, and it's just like it makes it so much worse. And yeah, cyberbullying is bad. I was cyberbullied for a long time especially when I first started my TikTok, and I see these 8 to 10-year-old singers on TikTok, and people are like saying all this crap in the comments to
Mhm.
try to invalidate their talent. Like you're just auto-tuned. Like that's a child pursuing their dreams. How miserable do you have to be to try to rip that away from a kid?
Yeah,
It's
and like
like,
most times when you see the people commenting this, one, they're either old and I'm like, what are you doing
right.
talking to a child like that? Or two, they're like an account that has nothing on it. So like, who are you to judge? This person's putting themselves out there and doing what they want to do, and you're literally sitting behind no
Right. And
face.
they don't have the strength, I guess, in a weird way to actually do it behind their own identity because that can come back to you really badly. You know, how many people get fired from jobs or don't get into college because someone finds like a really discriminatory or awful comment they made. People are like, "Oh, it's not going to be a big deal." Yes, it is. People will find stuff. People will
Yeah.
find stuff. It's not that hard to like get information on a fake account either, you know.
Yeah.
So people think that they're hiding. It's like, not really.
Yeah. And do you kind of use the mental health and bullying that you went through? Do you write music about it? Does it inspire any of your music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely, my earlier music was definitely based off of the direct experiences I was having, and now it's kind of just more like healing from it and
Hmm.
overcoming it. One thing that people have told me, which goes right through me every time, well, you should be grateful to have been bullied because these kids gave you a music career. They gave you something to write about. And it's like, not exactly. You don't tell someone that abused them is the reason they're successful
Yeah.
because that invalidates the work that I've done, the work that any musician who has been bullied has done to get themselves to that point. And it's just like, why would you tell someone that? Like, what are you trying to cover up, you know?
Yeah,
So
like I'm sure at the end of the day, you would much prefer not to have gone through that. That's a weird thing, yeah, to tell
it is.
anyone.
I mean, like, obviously, like, it did help me get a thicker skin. It did help me to
Hmm.
get some song lyrics, help me to keep going. But I also still to this day live with mental health struggles from it.
Yeah,
So,
100%. Yeah, no, because it sticks with you. And like I said, for me, it's been almost 10 years since like I went through like really bad bullying and it's still present and still affects me, even if it doesn't affect me as much as it did before. Like I feel like it's just something that I'm gonna kind of live with and have to cope with. But talking about songwriting and stuff, do you ever deal with like writer's block or like creative slumps and how do you kind of get through that?
I take a break when I get like a writer's block. I feel like a lot of musicians and creators nowadays are so pressured to just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Just keep pushing yourself. And I learned it the hard way. It's not good. It can burn you out. So, taking breaks is really, really important. Just because you take a break for 5 minutes doesn't mean your whole career is gonna like all the progress is gonna stop. I feel like
Yeah.
with social media, that's kind of been an issue when it comes to a lot of content creators and
Yeah.
musicians. It's pretty tough to see, especially as someone that also dealt with it for a
Hmm.
while.
No, yeah, me too. Like for this podcast, for example, just took like a 3 week break because I was like, I'm so overworked, burnt out, and like I wasn't enjoying it. And I was like, I need to like give myself some time off and like recuperate. And like now I'm coming back like much more motivated and like excited about it. So I feel like some people are like, oh, like if you take a break and you're stop being consistent, like everything's gonna fail and like you're gonna become like nobody. Like that's how people view like content. Like if you stop, people are gonna forget about you. But that's really
Right.
not the case. And I feel like coming back more energized and like excited about stuff versus putting out stuff because I'm forced to and like burnt out, I feel like people can tell the difference.
Absolutely.
So you said that your music at the beginning was more about like what you were dealing with, mental health struggles, and now it's kind of like healing. How would you say your kind of music style and the way you work and write has evolved over time?
I think my sound definitely evolved and I got to a point where I really found it. Feel like a lot of artists go through different like experiments. I growing up, I mean, country and rock and grunge were like my big three things that I listened to. I know those were things that I wanted to pursue. I grew up singing country. High school, middle school, started singing more heavier stuff. But I had experiments with pop music when I first started releasing music, like R&B, even like hip hop sometimes. My sound really evolved to more like a Sheryl Crow, kind of like Alanis Morissette, like soft grunge with a little bit of country aspect in it. And I mean, my first few releases were like alternative rock, then I did some pop, and now it's at where it's at. And yeah, it definitely has changed a lot, especially with what I write about as well. Like I said, in the beginning, it was more so about like bullying. Like one of my first EPs, I full on did like a diss track against my entire grade for like making fun of me. And then it kind of just grew into more like healing and like dealing with life.
Mhm.
Like my upcoming album, there's songs about mental health. There's songs about healing. There's songs about my parents' divorce. There's songs about so many different like aspects of life.
Hmm. And do you know when your album's dropping yet or no?
Either early 2025 or later this year.
Okay, that's exciting. Talking about the songs that you wrote, how long does it usually take you to write like one song? Does it usually vary or like how does that work?
It depends. I mean, my most recent song, I've been working on it since like 2019, and there's been like multiple different versions of it. Some other songs get written pretty quickly. Depends on like what I'm doing, right? Whether I'm working with my band, whether I'm working with a producer who's just making like a track for me or whatever. It usually varies.
For sure. And if someone goes on to like your Spotify or whatever and like listens to a few of your songs, what message do you hope that they get out of it?
Nothing they face defines their worth or dictates their fate. Whatever's meant to be will be. And it's just life, and you kind of have to take it day by day. Those are like my big sayings for a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
No, I love that. And right now, do you have like a team that you work with? Are you an independent artist? What's your vibe with that?
For a while, I worked with my cousin when I first started out. He was a sound engineer, producer. And then I met Donnie Klang, who's a producer on Long Island,
Hmm.
and we got connected. We started making some songs together. And when I started college, I met one of my guitarists, Reed, and then we kind of played together as a duo for a while. Donnie like produced some songs with us. And then we kind of decided, to get the sound we really want, we do need a band. And I was very skeptical about forming a band because the last time I was in a band, it was a disaster. And I was like, okay, I kind of just need to do this. I just kind of get over it. I ended up forming my backing band in late 2022, and there's been like a lot of lineup changes, band members come and go, but that's really the team I'm working with, and I work with a professional manager. I've been through one manager before, now I'm on to another one, and yeah, that's basically the team I have working for me. I do like most of my own marketing and like stuff like that, helping me with my music, the band, helping me to book shows, my manager. So yeah.
So you did mention that you won a major music award. What was the feeling like for you to be recognized in that way, and what did it mean to you?
Back in 2023, my first bigger music award was Best Upcoming Artist in the WMAs in 2023, and it was very surreal, and I had dedicated that award to children who are struggling at home and at school, being that I went through what I did in school with bullying and with like a learning disability and having an IEP, but also a few months before that, my parents like announced to me and my brother that they were getting divorced, and there was a lot of tension in the award room that night between both sides of my family. A few months before that as well, someone at my college like made a hate account about me, like listing
My
reasons why I'd
God.
never become like famous. I get again consumed by that because it's like what have I done to people that is making them act like this, you know?
Yeah.
I've definitely been through a lot of victim blaming when it comes to that. You know, I tell people I was bullied in high school and college, like, well, what did you do? It's like nothing,
Yeah.
literally nothing, but be myself and pursue my career. So yeah, getting to win that award really was just a big deal for me and my family. So to get up and win an award in the city that, you know, a lot of kids that lived there, you know, bullied me. And I
Yeah.
mean, it was really a pretty powerful moment for me, my family, and like my inner child to experience. So
Yeah, for sure. And you did speak a little bit about how you're also into acting and all that. What have been some of your favorite roles in that world?
I was Vivian in Legally Blonde, and it was
Okay.
like so fun. And then COVID ended up canceling the show, and I was so
Oh.
mad. But I also played JoJo in Seussical, and I feel like I really wasn't acting because I related so much to the character
Mm-hmm.
because I had gotten that role the summer after I was being really badly bullied my freshman year of high school, so I really related to the character, and it was really healing to be able to play that.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, so if you like take music and acting, if you had to pick one to pursue for the rest of your life, which do you think you would pick?
I feel like they with what I'm doing, they kind of go hand in hand, especially with like a lot of my TikToks are like acting, and that also like kind of involves my music. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pursue singing.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything kind of just goes hand in hand. You know, you're a singer, you're gonna be do a music video, you have to act in the music video, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So
no, for sure. So you did speak about having a learning disability. What was that like during school? Because like I also have one, and during school I didn't even know I had one until I got to literally college. And
mm.
it kind of made so much more sense for me because in high school I struggled so much with like reading and like just like comprehending everything. So what was your experience like with a learning disability?
So before I was diagnosed, I didn't get diagnosed till second grade. In early elementary school, I had this teacher who was awful, and she destroyed my perception of myself at a very young age. She made me feel like I was incapable and that I was stupid and that I was incompetent. And she would like rally the class up to laugh at me. She was just awful. Like I don't
Wow.
know how someone like that could become a teacher.
Yeah.
I remember specifically one day I had like gotten like an assignment correct and she was like, "Look at that, for once you got something right." And I was just like, "What? Why become a teacher to treat a child like that?" And the year after that, I had a teacher who was amazing, and I actually had her twice because I stayed back the year I'd gotten diagnosed. But it was just very hard to hear all that stuff before I was diagnosed because it
Hmm.
made me feel like getting diagnosed was bad and that there was something wrong with me because of that. And my mom, who has a degree in special education, when she found out about that teacher being mean to me, she had a long talk with that teacher on the phone, and the teacher had nothing to say but the fact that I was just a mystery. Which I guess, looking at it now, cool. I guess I'm a mystery. But telling a parent of a child that, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, and just treating a child like that, like you basically destroy like their self-confidence and like you said, like your perception of yourself and your image of yourself. I don't understand how someone like that could be a teacher and would like want to be a teacher because I
Right.
feel like teachers want to like uplift their students and like motivate them. So to be
Right.
like the complete opposite is wild.
Yeah, there's a lot of like sociology studies that say that a lot of ableist people will unfortunately go into jobs where they're working with disabled people or working to like help people because it kind of allows them to compensate for things
Hmm.
that they've done the way that they think. But I mean, I remember I had this one teacher also in elementary school, and I like told her that some girl in my class was being mean to me, and she like screamed at me and told me to go sit back down just because I said
Wow.
this girl was being mean to me. I'm like, what is she, like your niece or something? So you're like protecting her? But that kind of made me scared to speak up for bullying because like
Yeah.
especially at such a young age. I was between the ages of like 7 and like 10, you know. And then middle school was more so like middle school, you know how middle school is, and people were kind of like judgmental of the fact that I had to like leave the classroom for certain things, and you know, people definitely treated me a lot differently because I think that the term like special education definitely like makes people think like mean things, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I mean, yeah, I mean there was some of that in elementary school, but like elementary schoolers just they don't understand, you know. But middle schoolers, you know, you're a bit older, you should have an understanding
Yeah.
a little. That was really when I had my bad experiences. High school, I had a few teachers that were like, "Oh, you're not gonna graduate." College was fine. I didn't really run into any teachers that gave me crap about anything in college.
Or at least for me, there's less of like I didn't talk to my college teachers as much as like you do in high school and
Right.
elementary. So I feel like that could be it. But yeah, it's just wild to me that like teachers can be like that and like still have their jobs. And it happened to you. I can't imagine how many other people that they treated that way too.
Right. Being like the advocate I am now and talking about it, I hear
Hmm.
horror stories from so
Yeah.
many kids. It's like almost every single child. There's no like official study on this, but with what I've seen, I'd say that almost every single child out there with an IEP has ran into a teacher that's been like that. And there's so many like negative stigmas around accommodations and like, oh, the student's just being lazy, they don't want to do the
Yeah.
work. And people think that people have like the most warped perception of what an accommodation is. An accommodation is to help the student, help them come up with strategies, help them set goals, not just like let them do whatever they want and
Yeah,
not do
exactly.
it. People think that that's what it is. That's why people will be saying stuff like they're not going to function in the real world. It's like that
Hmm.
mindset is going to stop you from functioning in the real world. You
Exactly.
know.
No, 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. If anyone is listening to this right now, like a young person that's dealing with bullying or anything in that aspect or like struggling with their self-confidence, what advice would you give to them?
I probably say exactly what my mom said to me, you know, that these kids don't define your worth, they don't dictate your fate. High school is such a small part of your life, so don't let somebody in that small part of your life ruin your dreams, ruin your goals. You know, you have to remember also that these people often go through something that turns them into the miserable, upset person that they are. And you kind of just have to be understanding of that. I mean, it's not an excuse, but it is an explanation. And, you know,
Yeah.
they become so upset with themselves that attempting to make someone else second guess their self worth or feel like a joke makes them, you know, kind of have this power trip that's like, okay, that makes me feel better about myself. Knocking someone else down that I maybe feel threatened by makes me feel better about myself. So you really just have to remember that it's a really small part of your life, and this person is absolutely nobody to define who you are.
Hmm. Yeah. And as someone who works in social media and hears a lot of stories from other people that have faced the same struggles, and you speak up a lot about like bullying, mental health, how do you kind of preserve and like keep your own mental health kind of safe and intact when like you're hearing all these stories and putting yourself out there and talking about it a lot? How do you protect your own mental health?
So it's funny because I actually got this question on my TikTok not too long ago. Really, you kind of have to heal yourself before you go out and you try and you help to heal other
Yeah.
people. You know, because if you're not protected, if you're not, you know, you don't have those mental boundaries up, then hearing those things is going to go right through you too. I say like in the beginning when I first saw like the hate comments about disabilities, I got really angry and I kind of thought to myself, okay, that's just my inner child coming out and getting really angry at those types of things. But then, you know, after years of doing it, I've kind of learned why these people act the way they do, why they, you know, choose to leave these comments. And it's kind of made me think, like, I just got to keep going. I got to keep, you know, people need to hear this stuff. It's very important. So that's kind of how I find like the balance, you know, understanding the psychology and understanding like a healing process, you know, it really helped me to kind of balance that out because there definitely were times, and my mom will tell you this too, that I didn't have that balance. And my mom's like, I think you need to take a break, you know, if you are getting bothered by those comments. And I think also, like, my own anxiety disorder definitely stepped in to my career at one point too, and I kind of had these moments where like I was like afraid to post because like what if someone takes it the wrong way,
Yeah.
what if I would go to post a video and I'd have to watch it like 10 times before posting and 10 times after posting it, or something bad would happen, or something bad would appear in the video. And that's also something that, kind of impacted my content creator life on a daily basis. So I really had to come up with a lot of strategies to work through those things,
Yeah.
because mental health, can impact your career and what you're doing if you don't like come up with the right strategies around it.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. Like now I've eased off on it a bit, but before, like when
Yeah.
I would post stuff, I would always be like, I'd have to watch it like 10 times before I posted, just in
Mm-hmm.
case I said something that could come off the wrong way, or like if some like
Right.
just like something, I would stress myself out, and then I would post it and I would rewatch it again, and then like a few hours later, I'd be like, I need to see again. Like it kind
Yeah,
of like
right.
consumed me, and now like you said, like I kind of have gotten used to it. I think like doing it for so long, like you kind of get used to it. But at the end of the day, like mental health is going to stick with us in everything we do.
Right.
And like you said, once you learn how to like cope with it in like healthy ways, it's easier to like move forward. But I feel like
Mhm.
it's like an everyday struggle at this point, and it's going to be like that.
Yeah. And I feel like in this day of social media, we all see like people like getting canceled and stuff, and that also kind of like a lot of content creators kind of develop that fear as well, even if they're not doing anything that's,
Yeah.
cancelable, you know what I mean? Are there people out there that should be canceled? Absolutely, because they do awful stuff. But then there's someone who will be canceled over something they said as like a kid or something, and people kind of dig and they dig and they dig, and they'll call people industry plants, they'll call people all this stuff, and I think that a lot of content creators, we watch that and we internalize it and we're like, oh
Yeah.
god, what happens to me, and we start thinking that it's going to happen to us, and then we do all these things to try to protect ourselves, and it's just a massive waste of our time because it's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, 100%. So, do you have any personal or professional goals that you hope to achieve in the next few years?
I would love to see myself play like a music festival, like a big music festival, or like open for a band I really like. Like I really want to play Boston Calling. That's like a big goal of mine. Being that I'm from like the area,
Yeah.
and just like to keep growing on TikTok and like spreading my messages and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So last part of our podcast, I asked people on Instagram to ask you questions. Going off what you just said, I'll ask this one first. If you could open up for any artist on tour, who would it be?
Probably Sheryl Crow or like Alanis Morissette or like Carrie Underwood. I think that'd be really cool. Even some like pop punk bands like State Champs would be a really cool one to open for as well.
Yes, well, if anyone knows them and can get in contact with them, you know who to reach out to for an opener. And then the last question is, what's your favorite self-care activity?
Probably just like doing makeup, skincare, like relaxing with my dogs. I love my dogs. I love my family, like being around my family. I spend a lot of time with my boyfriend. My favorite self-care activity is sometimes just to shut this thing off and throw it across the room. You know?
Honestly, I need to
Be
learn how
like,
to do that because
right.
I do not do that enough.
Yeah, I got to a point where my screen time was like 12 hours. And that kind of ties back into like what I was saying in like a few questions back, where like I had to keep checking. I just had to keep checking to make sure everything
Hmm.
was okay. And then I ended up looking at my screen time and I was like, oh no. So I'm just gonna put this away. Like I sometimes will like lock my phone in like my house and just leave. Like just leave it.
Honestly, I should do that because sometimes I feel like we're so like consumed and like in a way like addicted to it. Doing that would stress me out, which is not something that I want to like experience. Like I don't want to be stressed out by like turning my phone off or like leaving it somewhere because like what if something's happening, you know what I mean? So I feel like
Right.
I just need to like learn to disconnect from it.
That's definitely something I've tried to tie into like my wellness content as well, as you just like, put your phone down
Yeah. No,
for a
honestly,
bit.
like when like we were like in elementary and stuff, I feel like it was like the beginning of like social media and like technology and stuff. So now
Yeah.
like we're the generation that's like obsessed with it and like can't be off of it, which is
Like grew up alongside the evolution of it too, you
yeah.
know. I still remember when like DMs were first like a thing, like
Yes,
in
on
when I was,
Instagram when all you could do was post at first and comment and then like DMs became a thing and now like there's DMs on every single platform.
yeah, it's kind of crazy to watch like the evolution. Like every 2 years a new like iPhone comes out and it's just like, oh, okay. Is there gonna be like an iPhone 70 in the future? Like it's
Probably.
gonna
That's
go
gonna be
that far?
wild.
Is it gonna go that far?
Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, that's all I had for you today. So thank you so much again for coming on. Before you leave, do you want to shout out any of your socials where we can find you, where they can listen to your music?
So all of my social media accounts are Evelyn Rose Official, and Evelyn Rose is spelled all one word with a Z instead of an S in Rose. On Spotify, it's just Apple Music, whatever you listen to music, it's just Evelyn Rose. I have my album coming out soon, so keep track of that on social media.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much again for coming on. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to go follow Evelyn Rose on all her socials. Go show her some love. Go support her music. Go check her out. If you want to follow me, please don't be shy. You can follow me either at Behind the Girl Boss or at It's Amanda Wan. You can check out my YouTube channel, It's Amanda Wan. I post every single week on there. And yeah, don't forget to leave a review for this podcast, subscribe, follow wherever you're listening to it on. If you know someone that is potentially a good candidate to be on the podcast, any woman who has an inspiring story, let me know, DM me, email me, whatever you want, and I would love to have them on. And if it's you, DM me too, reach out, nominate yourself, have confidence in yourself. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys next week.